The confrontation. The Imperial Security Division occupied 3 entire levels of the palace station, its corridors lined with biometric scanners and automated defense systems that could neutralize threats in milliseconds. During the night cycle, only skeleton crews monitored the most critical systems, but Marcus knew those crews were chosen for their vigilance and loyalty. Getting to Deputy Director Walsh's office would require every skill he had learned in 20 years of military service. Princess Elena moved beside him through the maintenance corridors like a ghost, her enhanced reflexes and genetic modifications making her nearly as capable as a trained infiltration specialist. She had insisted on coming despite Marcus's protests, pointing out that her royal clearances would be needed to access certain secure areas. More importantly, she had argued, this was her fight for her throne. They reached the access point to level 15 through a service shaft that Marcus had identified during his security reviews. The shaft connected the palace's environmental systems to the IS offices, providing a route that avoided most surveillance systems. Elena's slender frame allowed her to navigate the tight spaces easily, while Marcus had to suppress his enhanced combat armor to minimum power to avoid triggering proximity sensors. 2 guards at the main checkpoint, Elena whispered as they approached the access hatch, both carrying standard plasma rifles and neural disruptors. Marcus peered through the environmental grating and confirmed her assessment. The guards were alert but relaxed, expecting no trouble during the quiet night hours. Can you create a distraction without raising general alarms? Elena smiled and produced a small device from her utility belt. Emergency environmental alert. It will trigger evacuation protocols for this section without alerting the main security center. The guards will have to investigate. She activated the device, and immediately the corridor beyond filled with the soft amber glow of environmental warning lights. The guards reacted instantly, one speaking into his communicator while the other began scanning for the source of the alert. Within minutes, they had moved down the corridor to investigate what appeared to be a minor atmospheric processing malfunction. Marcus and Elena emerged from the service shaft and made their way quickly toward Walsh's office. The deputy director's workspace was located in the secure section of level 15, protected by additional biometric locks and surveillance systems. But Elena's genetic markers identified her as imperial nobility, granting her access to most areas of the palace complex. The office door slid open at Elena's touch, revealing a workspace that looked more like a command center than an administrative office. Multiple screens displayed real-time security feeds from throughout the palace, while banks of processing units hummed quietly in climate-controlled alcoves. Walsh's personal terminal sat at the center of it all, protected by additional security protocols that would challenge even experienced infiltrators. She's been busy, Elena observed, noting the configuration of monitoring equipment. This setup would let her observe activities throughout the palace while maintaining the appearance of normal security operations. Marcus moved to the terminal and began entering his security codes. Level 9 clearance should get us into her personal files, but she's probably encrypted anything sensitive. The terminal accepted his credentials and displayed Walsh's file directory. Marcus scrolled through dozens of folders containing routine security reports, personnel evaluations, and system maintenance logs. But buried among the legitimate files was a folder labeled Project Succession that immediately caught his attention. "That's it," Elena said as Marcus opened the folder. "Those are the files we need." The folder contained detailed planning documents for what could only be described as a comprehensive coup. Communication intercepts showing Regina Victoria's coordination with outer colony governors. Financial records detailing payments to Senate committee members. Most damning of all, the original source files for the forged evidence that supposedly implicated Elena in her father's death. Marcus felt his jaw clench as he read through the fabricated intelligence reports. The level of detail was staggering, creating an entirely fictional narrative that painted Emperor Constantine's death as the result of information leaked by his own daughter. The psychological profiles of Elena included assessments of her emotional vulnerabilities and recommendations for manipulating her into compliance. "They planned this for over a year," Elena said quietly, reading over his shoulder. "Even before Father's death. They were preparing contingencies for removing me from the succession." Marcus continued scrolling through the files, his anger building with each revelation. The conspiracy involved not just the regent and her allies, but members of the Imperial Security Division, outer colony administrators, and even elements within the military command structure. It was a systematic dismantling of the legitimate government, justified by claims that Elena was too young and idealistic to rule effectively. "Look at this." Elena pointed to a communication thread between Walsh and an unknown contact. "They're not just planning to remove me from the throne, they're planning to fundamentally change the Empire's expansion policies." Marcus read the messages with growing alarm. The conspirators intended to halt human expansion beyond current borders, redirect military resources toward defensive positions, and negotiate territorial agreements with alien civilizations that had previously been considered hostile. It was a complete reversal of the aggressive expansion that had made humanity dominant among the stars. "They think our expansion has made too many enemies," Elena said. "They want to consolidate our current territories and focus on defense rather than growth." "That's suicide," Marcus growled. "The moment we stop expanding, every alien civilization in known space will see it as a sign of weakness. They'll start probing our borders, testing our resolve. Within a generation, we'll be fighting for our survival instead of our dominance." Elena nodded grimly. "Father understood that. Expansion isn't just about resources or territory. It's about maintaining the psychological advantage that keeps our enemies off balance. The aliens respect strength, not diplomacy." A soft footstep in the corridor outside made them both freeze. Marcus immediately began copying the files to his personal storage device, while Elena moved to the door to listen. The footsteps grew closer, accompanied by the soft hum of activated security equipment. "Guards," Elena whispered. "At least 3, moving in our direction." Marcus finished downloading the critical files and began erasing traces of their access from Walsh's terminal. But the approaching guards would reach them before he could complete a thorough cleanup. They needed another exit route, and they needed it immediately. Elena moved to the far wall and activated a maintenance panel. "Emergency evacuation route," she explained quietly. "Every office in this section has one in case of hull breach or other catastrophic failure." The maintenance hatch opened to reveal a narrow passage that led toward the outer sections of the station. Marcus grabbed Elena's hand and pulled her into the passage just as the office door began to cycle open behind them. They moved quickly through the cramped space, heading for an exit point that would put them several levels away from the IS offices. They emerged in a storage area used by the palace maintenance crews, their hearts pounding from the adrenaline of their narrow escape. Marcus checked his chronometer and realized they had been gone for over 2 hours. Dawn cycle would begin soon, and their absence would be noticed if they didn't return to their quarters quickly. "We have what we need," Elena said, breathing heavily, but smiling with satisfaction. "Those files prove that Aunt Victoria and her allies are planning treason on a massive scale." Marcus nodded, but his expression remained troubled. "The question is what we do with the evidence. If we present it through normal channels, the conspirators will claim it's fabricated, just as they fabricated evidence against you. We need a forum where the truth can't be suppressed or discredited." Elena's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "The birthday celebration. It's being broadcast live across the entire empire, with representatives from every major world and colony in attendance. If I present the evidence then in front of the galactic media, the conspirators won't be able to suppress it." "That's extremely risky," Marcus warned. The moment you reveal what we've discovered, they'll know we infiltrated his offices. They could have us arrested for treason before we finish speaking. Then we'll have to make sure we have protection, Elena replied. My personal guard is sworn to defend me against all enemies, foreign and domestic. If I publicly identify Aunt Victoria and her allies as traitors to the crown, where does their loyalty lie? Marcus considered the question carefully. Elena's guard detail consisted of 12 hand-picked veterans, all of whom had served with distinction in various human military campaigns. They had sworn personal oaths to protect the princess, but they also held commissions in the imperial military hierarchy. If ordered to arrest Elena for treason, would they follow their personal oaths or their military obligations? Most of them will stand with you, Marcus decided. Sergeant Torres and Lieutenant Kim have served with me for years. They understand the importance of the legitimate succession. Corporals Williams and Chen are newer, but they've proven their loyalty in training exercises. The others, I'm not certain. Then we'll have to trust in something more powerful than individual loyalty, Elena said. We'll have to trust in the ideals that built this empire. When the nobility and media representatives see the evidence of this conspiracy, when they understand that our aggressive expansion policies are under attack from within, they'll demand justice. Marcus felt a surge of pride as he listened to the young princess. At 12 years old, she already understood the political realities of leadership better than many career politicians. More importantly, she understood that true power came not from manipulation or compromise, but from standing for principles that inspired others to follow. They made their way back to their quarters through seldom-used corridors, avoiding the main thoroughfares where they might encounter guards or staff members who would remember their presence. The palace was beginning to stir as the dawn cycle approached, with early shift workers beginning their duties and automated systems cycling through their morning routines. In his quarters, Marcus began preparing a comprehensive briefing package using the evidence they had gathered. The files clearly showed the scope of the conspiracy and the foreign nature of their ultimate goals. Any loyal citizen of the empire would recognize the threat posed by leaders who wanted to abandon humanity's expansion in favor of defensive consolidation. What about Aunt Victoria? Elena asked as she reviewed his work. She'll be expecting an answer about the speech today. We need to keep her believing that I'm considering cooperation. Marcus thought for a moment. Tell her you need more time to review the speech with your advisors. Express concerns about specific wording, ask for minor revisions, make her believe that you're genuinely considering her proposal while buying us time to prepare. Elena nodded. And Lady Sophia? Let her believe she's already won, Marcus suggested. Encourage her confidence. Ask her about her plans for the empire after the succession. The more she reveals about their intentions, the stronger our case becomes. Over the following days, Marcus and Elena worked carefully to gather additional evidence while maintaining the appearance of normal palace routine. Elena attended her scheduled lessons and ceremonies, playing the role of a confused child considering abdication. Marcus conducted his usual security briefings and guard rotations, all while secretly coordinating with the guards he knew he could trust. The night before Elena's birthday celebration, Marcus received an unexpected visitor. Sergeant Torres knocked on his door just after midnight, his expression troubled. "Commander, I need to speak with you about tomorrow's security arrangements," Torres said once the door had closed behind him. "I've received some unusual orders from IS Command." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. "What kind of orders?" "We're to be prepared for a possible security incident during the princess's speech," Torres replied. "Deputy Director Walsh briefed me personally. She said there's intelligence suggesting that Princess Elena might make statements that could be construed as treasonous, and that we should be ready to take her into protective custody if necessary." The final pieces of the conspiracy fell into place in Marcus's mind. The regent wasn't just planning to manipulate Elena into abdication. She was preparing to have the princess arrested if she refused to cooperate. The charges would be based on the fabricated evidence Walsh had created, presented as a legitimate security concern that required immediate action. "Sergeant," Marcus said carefully, "what do you think of Princess Elena?" Torres was quiet for a moment. "She reminds me of her father, sir. Same intelligence, same dedication to the Empire's welfare. I've watched her in training exercises, and she has the instincts of a natural leader. Why do you ask?" "Because tomorrow, you're going to have to choose between following orders from IS Command and following your oath to protect the legitimate heir to the throne," Marcus replied. "I need to know where your loyalty lies." Torres's expression hardened. "My loyalty lies with the Empire, sir, and the Empire needs Princess Elena on the throne, not some political puppet who wants to abandon our expansion policies." Marcus smiled grimly. "Then tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day, Sergeant. Are you ready for the fight of your life?" "Yes, sir," Torres replied without hesitation. "What are your orders?"